Hey guys, this is Colin from Blackjack Apprenticeship, and I am here in Las Vegas the day before our boot camp with SassyRed. Thanks so much for getting on the podcast with us.
Thanks for having me. I'm excited.
We've been talking for a while about, and we're actually going to do two, but this first one is really just about your story. And for those who don't know, SassyRed has been a member of the site for a year or two, but has spent the last year as a full-time Advantage player with about 6 figures in profits along the way. And so she's going to share a bit of her story with us now. Again, thanks for sitting down with me.
Okay. So do you want to just hear how I got into blackjack? What do you want to know first?
Well, actually, I want to start way before that. And I was actually sharing one of the people that helped me put together some of these questions because, to be honest, guys, there's a lot that goes on around a boot camp between planning the boot camp, but planning some of the non-boot camp things that generally tend to happen, as well as trying to do these podcasts. But someone helped me come up with a few extra questions, and that was Gus45, who helps manage our forum. And he wanted to know about your formative years, specifically what brought you to Africa.
I'm the daughter of missionaries. My dad actually was a chemical engineer, and my mother's a nurse. And he decided that he wanted to teach the higher level maths and sciences to missionary kids. And so I was on a American missionary school campus for junior high and high school.
So what ages?
From 12 to 17.
12 to 17. And is this evangelical missionaries, Mormon missionaries?
More mainstream.
Mainstream. So did you know we have that in common?
I did not. I knew you were PK, right?
So we actually have I didn't know that you lived in Africa. I didn't live in Africa, but I lived in Costa Rica when I was 7.
I've been to Costa Rica.
My parents were studying at the language school to become missionaries. And then, long story short, we came back to the U.S. until I finished college, and then my parents built a feeding center in Guatemala, and they were there for 4 years. But while they were there in Guatemala, my dad taught missionary kids.
And how about that? I did not know we had that in common.
Yeah, so he taught English and some stuff like that. And my mom was a nurse practitioner.
Get out of town.
Okay, well, it was nice talking with you. I'll see you later. I've got to leave.
I'm surprised. That's awesome.
Yeah, she was a nurse, and then when I was in college, she got a nurse practitioner degree, and to be able to do more missions work. And so she actually started working out at a clinic in a village that people would walk miles to for themselves or their kids to get medical help. And then that was where they were realizing kids were literally starving to death. Yeah. And my parents were like, well, we got to do something. So they raised the funds and used some of their own and built a feeding center. So we have that in common.
Cool.
It's fun. Cool. You know, we could talk about blackjack, but we could also talk about
missionary kids.
Yeah, we had a missionary kid thing. So,
like haggling in markets. Have you ever done that?
Yes, of course.
Oh, that's so fun.
Of course, and it's like I get as worked up, try to get a good deal.
That's why I'm a good comp hustler. This is why I don't pay for anything on the road, because I know how to haggle in markets.
Yes. Oh, that is awesome. So, did you grow up living anywhere else?
Actually, I have. I've lived in, I don't know if it's 7 or 9 different states, because before my folks went to the mission field, my dad would keep getting transferred with the chemical company that he worked with. So I said before I was 5 years old, I lived in Texas, Pennsylvania, North Carolina, Maine, and then we were in Colorado, overseas, and I went to college at a Christian liberal arts university called Wheaton outside in the western Chicago suburbs.
Wow.
So that's where I met my former husband, who was a singer in a Christian heavy metal band.
Yes.
And that got us to Nashville. So he made 12 records, and I tour managed for that group for a while. And then then we spent 2 years in Paraguay. So I've done missions work in that's South America, not Central America. So we were there for 2 years. That was right around Y2K. We came home. And life didn't go according to plan right after that. But and so you're getting the little snippet, I guess. So maybe I should stop and let you ask the next question.
Well, one of the things that I wanted to ask is all that travel. Do you think that kind of prepared you?
Absolutely. Yeah, because I know how to be efficient with the trip. And the way because I live in a state now that has no casinos, and I live in rural Tennessee. And I spent 25 years in Nashville, but I'm in rural Tennessee now. And it takes me almost 2 hours to get to an airport. And I want to be efficient when I go.
Yeah.
So I plan to hit several different casinos. I try to bookend them together and minimize how many times I'm having to drive back and forth between the airport and home. Parking expenses, all that. My tour managed days made me pretty efficient with that.
Yeah. Oh, that's awesome. I was even thinking, because I moved a ton as a kid, I think being comfortable amidst chaos is kind of an essential to being a card counter or an AP, because if you can't handle that, things are going to change. And you might wake up and be like, wait, where am I?
I often wake up not knowing where I am. It takes me a minute. But something popped into my head when you said that. It's like the casino was a foreign environment. It was a foreign country to me. And I've done that a lot.
Yeah.
So I've actually spent the night in every U.S. state except Alaska and Hawaii.
Wow.
Because I traveled with my family, but also traveled, my family of origin, and then also with my nuclear family when I was married. So, yeah, been all over, seen it all.
Wow. So. Wow. And now you're traveling from state to state.
Because I still love it. I still love that part.
Okay. So you don't get sick of the travel?
Well, I didn't say that.
Okay.
I like airports and airplanes less than I used to.
Yes.
But the shine is off, a little of that romance, I guess.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. Okay. Well, that's really interesting. So then let's back up. You kind of went from childhood to current, but let's back up kind of in the middle there. What did you do before Advantage Play then as an adult? Or after, let's say, post managing the band?
Well, when we came, I worked part-time things with in jobs connected with my church when we came back from the mission field. And that was for about 10 years. And then after my marriage ended, I decided to get a master's degree in counseling. So I did that and worked in the therapy field for a couple of years. And then I had a corporate job then as well. So I was doing therapy sessions and working for a corporate company. And they promoted me to head up their addictions treatment, mostly dealing with nicotine, helping our clients, employees. So I quit smoking or tobacco. So I was in tobacco control. I was a certified tobacco treatment specialist.
And where do you get a certification for that?
Well, there's lots of different places that offer it, but I was part of an association for tobacco treatment use and dependence, and I probably said it's ATUD. I probably did the acronym all wrong. So, but you just look, and they offer different treatment different certification programs throughout the year.
Okay.
So I just attended one of those.
And what did you study at Wheaton?
Sociology.
Okay. And do you have a counseling degree?
I do.
Okay.
So I have my bachelor's in sociology from Wheaton, and then a master's degree in marriage and family therapy from Trevecca in Nashville.
Okay. And then from there into...
And I did, and then I was certified as an addiction specialist and a tobacco treatment specialist.
Man. So we're gonna actually do the second podcast we're gonna do is about handling emotions, and a lot because of your background, and I can't wait to talk about that. But I'll hold off on some of those questions for now. But how did you even work that towards discovering card counting?
So while I was working in that corporate job, and I was now single, I had a friend who called on a Saturday morning. I'd never been in a casino. I didn't know. And actually, my family, when we were in Africa, people play cards all the time. And I was the kid in the family who never wanted to play. I'm not, this is the interesting thing about me being an AP. I'm not competitive. I was talking, I always root for the underdog. I hate to make anybody else lose, which made my stuff with ploppies really hard to deal with. We'll talk about that later. But I'm not competitive. And I never wanted to play with my family because I never wanted to beat any of them. And I didn't want to be beat. Maybe it was more that. But so I was never interested in things like that. And then one day I had a friend call me and say, let's take a day trip. I want to go up to Metropolis. This is when I was in Nashville. I want to go up to the casino in Metropolis. And I'm like, are you serious? I've never been in a casino. That sounds dumb. And he's like, no, it's really fun. Come on, I'll buy you a drink. So I found out later he had a gambling problem.
Okay.
and his car was in the shop, and he was jonesing to go.
Oh, wow.
And I was a friend. We were just buddies from church. And so I was like, and I was home alone, and I was like, fine, I'll go. And I thought it was the dumbest thing ever, but I did get to drink for free. So, so I talked, at the time, my firstborn was working surveillance for a casino in an East Coast city. And I talked to him about that. He goes, Mom, if you feel like you want to hang out with Rob and it's going to be in casinos, learn how to play blackjack. Blackjack's a beatable game, or at least the house edge is really, really low. Like, don't play slots. Slots are dumb. And that's what I had watched Rob do all day. And I was like, oh my gosh, I could never do that. And so I started looking like at Wizard of Odds is what I found first, and started playing kind of their little play for fun freebie thing. And I was like, that's kind of fun. And studying the basic strategy chart. So if I went, at least I felt like, okay, maybe I can break even and get comps. And my attitude about that at the time is, if I can play really low stakes game and lose, because I could calculate, okay, they have a 0.5 percentage edge. I know how much, and I played this. I knew what my theoretical loss was even then. And I went, well, if the value of the hotel rooms and the meals and that equals that, then I'm okay with that. That's where my head was when I first started doing it. And I enjoyed the game. But then I lost some, and I didn't like that.
Well, yeah, and of course the casinos aren't offering a break-even thing with but it can feel close to it for entertainment,
right? And that's what I thought at first, but I very quickly became dissatisfied with that arrangement. And I was like, well, if you can actually beat it, how do you do that? And so I started to study and look and search, and that's when I found you. And that's when so I got a deck out, and I'm like, can I count down a deck? Oh, it was horrible.
Actually, tell me about that, because I don't remember. I don't even know if I did that. And I've actually been playing with it's almost like a magic trick thing. And I feel so dumb. And I'm like, this is probably what it was when I first counted, but I don't even remember. It was so long ago, and I don't even think I did just do a deck. I'm sure I did. I just don't even remember it. So tell me.
I just remember reading something about counting down a deck, and it had never occurred to me before. And so I tried it, and I was awful at it. But
like, did you feel like you couldn't remember which was a plus or a? Or
no, that part wasn't hard. I was just slow. I was just really slow, and I think I did make mistakes at first, but like I just sat there and did it for like 3 hours the first day I ever did it, and I started to feel competitive with myself. And so
were you getting better, or was it like a step forward and a step back, or?
I haven't done it in so long.
I'm asking because I feel so dumb trying to learn this trick, and I'm like, man, am I getting to that age where it's harder to learn? I don't think so. I think it's just I don't remember how hard it was at the beginning, so I'm curious.
And this was like 2 years ago, so it's a little fuzzy for me too, because it was one of those exercises, once I found the drills, I put aside and stopped doing, especially since I have really tiny hands, and it's really hard to flip cards for me. So, I just remember that was the first thing I did, and so I don't really remember.
Okay, but then you started training.
I found you, or I found Blackjack Apprenticeship, and I can't remember if I emailed you or there was like the anyhow, we got in contact, and I told you way too much about my story in an email, and now it's kind of funny because I'm like, oh, he probably gets lots of those. I thought it was so unique, but I'm not at all. And so then I spent some time on the free site and decided it was worth it to invest in, and decided if I'm going to do this, I'm going to a boot camp. So I think the first time I reached out to you was, April of 2017, and I was at the June boot camp. And I worked my back end off for 2 months with the drills and all that. So, and I was making trips. I was now in rural Tennessee, and I was making trips to the North Carolina shops then, because I really did not understand don't play if you've been a poppy.
And I think I remember when you came to the boot camp, there were some kind of, like, you'd clearly worked on your game, but then there were also some kind of gambler things that you'd say. And I remember, I was probably a little harsh, but I kind of called it out. I remember,
you did.
You know, but how did that transition go post boot camp or? Well,
I mean, the thing that was so valuable to me about being at that boot camp, and I don't know if this is common or not, but I thought I was smarter than I was.
That is it.
Or better than I was.
Yeah, it is common, and I don't want to discourage people because I think I've actually been really thinking about this. Like, how do you create those kind of micro wins? Because if it just feels like, well, it's going to take forever, then people feel like it can't be done. And we've always told people, it just takes time. But then it doesn't take after a while. You're like, oh, I've come a long way, and so you're like, I'm pretty awesome, and then it's not uncommon to say, okay, well, you have come a long way, but you're not there yet. Some people they are. Some people they show up and it's like, wow, that was really impressive. But most often, I think people, what I always say, you got to learn what you don't know.
Yeah. And I think it helped me just, being a little older and having the life experiences that I had. I think I was able to process that you don't know what you don't know, so go home and learn it.
Yeah.
And
like out post boot camp
I was really committed when I went home to closing those gaps, because I was starting my motivation. I'm sorry, sometimes I do half sentences. My mother used to do that too. My motivation for wanting to be in the game was starting to develop.
Yeah, it started with, if I'm going to be in a casino, I might as well learn to play with the edge. But
right.
Then
it started to morph, and I was like, I could make a go at this because I had some things on my side. We can get to that in a minute. But, and I was never cut out for corporate America. I had a kind of a cushy job because I was able to work remotely. I headed a team. I had some authority. I was making a decent living, but I absolutely hated being in a corporate culture. I guess I didn't do well with 100 to 150 emails a day. People wanting me all the time. Dealing with pain a lot, even just with helping people quitting tobacco. It's such a tough process, but it really helped me with my blackjack.
Oh, wow.
Watching people go through that process and be successful. I'm like, if they can do that, I can do this.
Yeah.
And but I just didn't want to be in that world anymore. And I had that freedom, I think, with the band. I was used to being with somebody who was self-employed, and I knew what kind of flexibility and freedom that was. I wanted that back.
Yeah.
And I wanted to be able to call the shots about where I worked, how long I worked, and to see my people that are important to me are spread out all over this country. And this was a way to get to them easier too.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. That's interesting because we've done road trips, me and my wife and our kids, blackjack road trip. It's been a while, but it was based around the people we wanted to see.
Yeah.
And there's going to be casinos in between there.
I can see my grandkids, like they're near Philly, and I'm like, awesome. I can play Philadelphia or Pennsylvania games and see my grandbabies. So that's awesome.
Yeah. So, another thing I feel like I want to share is I think your evidence, it can be done, but also I want to say you're the exception. There are a lot of people that say, I'm going to just quit my corporate job and become a full-time card counter, and it's rare. It's doable, but it's rare. Do you think that, what do you think maybe, I don't know, is there something that you feel like made you able to push through where a lot of people, it's probably not the best idea to just quit their job?
Probably, and I was going to get to that too. That's why I said I had some things going for me to be able to do that. One was that, I'm a little bit later in my life, and I don't have debt. I had been savvy about that leading up to this time of my life.
You can't understate that. It is so much, if you have a much smaller cost of living, it is so much easier.
My cost of living is super small right now. And, sometimes I don't know how much to say. It's just hardly anything. It's low. So I had that going for me, and I had a significant savings. I would say over a year worth of expenses saved, maybe even more than that.
Wow.
So I had that cushion. I also had an investor. So I was able to start with a sizable bankroll.
Yeah.
Of course, you have investor cuts in that. But so I had sat down and really figured out how much I needed to generate in order to make that transition worth it to me. And it wasn't small.
Yeah.
So I said it was 150% of my annual salary. is as low as I would go.
Was
to make
how
it worth
much
it.
did you say?
150%. 150% of my annual salary, because you have other things that come into play. Your travel expenses. I have an investor cut, tax issues, things like that. So I wasn't going to do a lateral move. Even for the freedom.
Oh, wow.
I wanted it to be more because I want to retire early. That was my goal. So with that, then I figured out what kind of EV games do I need to play? How much bankroll do I need to do that? What I didn't know, and I actually was going to talk about this in the next podcast, was I had no idea about the heat that would cause.
Oh, yeah.
So
that's actually a really good point. In a mutual friend, I won't say who it was, but I remember another, you'd say like BJA Pro, someone that is in the six figures of profit. But when he first started out, he had his own money, but he was like, "Oh, I've got someone that'll bankroll me, and that's great because then I can generate more EV." And I'm like, "Well, you have to also give them now their part of it." And it's not this, if you're now betting, let's just say an investor means you can bet twice as much, generate twice as much EV. You're also going to have a lot more heat.
Yep.
And I actually encouraged him to not take on the investor because, then if you want to bet twice as much to make the same amount of money, what's the point? Because you're also bringing on more heat. He didn't take my advice, and it's worked out fine for him. But talk about that.
Well, and I think my investor situation too, I have a pretty good deal. So that makes it. I've heard others that don't have as good a deal as I do. So that makes a difference too. But so that would be the one thing I just. That was a little hard. It was a little bit of a shock because I played for a year with no heat.
Yeah.
I think I got a little cocky.
Yes.
And so, you bump the bet spread up, the swings get a little harder.
Yes.
And I remember telling you at one time when I saw you during a boot camp week, I said, "Dang, I've lost and won twice in the last 2 days, $5,000, and I hadn't even have my full bets. I hadn't even bumped my bets up yet."
Yeah.
And you're like, you said something, you just lost $5,000 today. And I said, yeah, I've done it twice. I did it yesterday too. Down, up, and down.
Yeah.
And that was new for me.
Yeah.
But it was also encouraging that I dealt with it.
Yeah.
Pushed through it. Kept going.
Yeah.
Because by the time I had done that, I knew that was my only option.
Yeah. So, but there was a little bit of time where you were doing both, right?
Yes, because I passed my test out. So I worked really hard after that June that June boot camp. Came back in August and tested out, probably by a whisker.
That was only June. That was only a couple months.
It was like 7 weeks.
Yeah, it was by a whisker, but no mistakes were made, and and you battled through it. And I think I said, hey, don't just go out there and start firing away.
You did. It was great advice.
Okay, good.
So, because I said him, he's sitting right here. I told Colin that I have this bankroll and this is my intended spread. And he goes, why don't you back that up a little bit and kind of you said about 50 to 100 more hours.
Yeah.
At just a little bit higher spread than I had been using.
Yeah.
And ramp it up slowly. It was great advice.
Good.
Well,
that's what we did with the church team. And honestly, I started out with a $7 betting unit.
Wow.
And then got to graduate to a $10 betting unit and a $25 betting unit and a $50 and $100. Some of the people that joined the church team, I don't know how they did it, going from red chipping to purple and yellow, and so,
it's
but we
shock.
Generally, for the church team, someone tests out and then we gave them, it's like $200 max. They could bet up to $200 or whatever, a couple spots of $200. And then after 40 hours or 80 hours, I don't remember exactly, but then we'd say, okay, now you can bet up to 500. And then, when you have 100 hours under your belt, even if you played perfectly before, you will be so much more comfortable and natural and all those things that you want to get through your system before you're putting your entire bankroll at risk.
Yeah. And I still don't think too much about how much money's on the table or how much has come and gone during a day, because living in the third world, and I don't know if you experience this either, because I was having a conversation with a very successful pro once who was kind of pushing me a little bit to bump the spread up even harder. He's like, why wouldn't you do it? You can afford it. And I said, I know what my limitations are. And for some reason, I see that money out there and I still see wells. How many wells that will buy? How much clean water for somebody that will buy? It's something I don't think I can ever get out of my head completely. And I've had to talk myself through those moments at the table because I can't look at it. You cannot. Because it'll make you crazy.
Yeah.
But it's just, that's been a struggle for me, and I'm happy with the EV at the level I'm playing. I'm still always open to it. I've tried to kind of edge towards it some, but I just haven't made big moves since I've done that.
Yeah, I don't see it as binary. There are different ways people can generate EV, and some people couldn't do it unless it were just maximum. I think about Josh Axelrad's book Repeat Until Rich, and their team just had this ethos of there's no pump in the brakes, and that's how they did it. There are other people that their goal is to fly under the radar, and they whatever. I guess my point is, deal with reality.
Right.
Whatever limit, don't say, "Oh, I'm going to make $1,000 an hour" and bet in a way where you're breaking even.
That's exactly what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
So I've been very aware of, because of the hours I put on, just under 700 hours now.
Wow.
And so I'm aware of, this is what this is going to cost you.
Yes.
And sometimes I'm like, do I want to do this differently in order to generate more EV? Mm-hmm. And I'm still answering that question.
Yeah.
I'm still open to it, but I'm aware of what the cost is.
Good. Yes, exactly. So face reality, know what every cover bet is going to cost you and what every big bet is going to cost you. and then make your decision accordingly to really fit your goal. That's, at the end of the day, I want people to align advantage play with their goals.
Right.
And if you do that, whether your goal is profitable hobby, break-even hobby, or trying to make, $500,000 in a year, whatever your goal is, use advantage play for that, and I'll feel like I've done my job well.
Yeah. And so I'm just going to catch up the timeline. So when I tested out in August, I played until February before I quit my course. So that's 6 months.
Okay. Well, that's great. Yeah. And then you went full time, and it's been just over a year. Mm-hmm. And how are you feeling a year in?
I feel really good. I mean, I've had a rough spot the last couple of months. Yeah. But I'm excited about the EV. It's been really good. I was completely solo for until about 2 months ago, and I've been traveling a little bit. We're not teammates, but we are working together somewhat, and that has helped kind of the lone wolf thing. I did not do well with that.
Okay.
That was hard.
Well, it's good to figure that out. And how many hours a month are you averaging?
I'm shooting for 50.
Okay.
So I've got under, I think my best month was 75.
Oh, wow. Okay.
So.
Yeah. And it's been a lot better traveling with someone.
Yeah, it helps. He drives.
So for the church team, we had some people that they were just flew solo, other people that always planned a trip with someone else. I think that's really good to figure out what works for you, because you're going to burn out if you're not using it in a way that works for you, or worse, not just burn out at the tables, but you can start making some bad decisions on the road or anything like that. So back to blackjack. What do you have preference? Shoe games, double deck?
I love double deck, but there's somebody in the room who told me to leave double deck for dessert, but I love my sugar.
That's it. Leave double deck for dessert. That's awesome.
Yeah, I just like the higher EV. For me, the way my brain works, it feels a little bit, I like dividing by, 1.5, 2. It's just, I get into those running counts of 19 divided by 3.5, and it takes me a minute. So for me, the mechanics of double deck are a little simpler, and I like how it moves. Mm-hmm. Has a little more heat to it. Yeah. But I've done a lot of hours with double deck. Okay. And I like it.
Okay.
So
I like any blackjack game that's worth my time in EV. I think it's fun mixing it up. Mm-hmm. But yeah, double deck definitely has its merits.
It's my game. I'm trying to learn a little bit more about single deck. I've only played it once, but I don't think I've got the nuances down of it yet. So I need to talk to someone that's a little more schooled with single deck, because I have some opportunities to play a 3-2 single deck game. We'll see.
Okay. Well, hopefully you've already crushed that by the time this comes out.
Thank you.
So what about like, do you Wong in at all, Wong out?
I used to a lot more, and I think just I don't a lot now.
Yeah.
But when I have, it's been awesome. I don't like to spend a whole lot of time trying to do it. I think that's just my own lack of patience.
Okay.
It's just a personality quirk. And when I run the numbers, I'm like, I can afford to, because I will spread huge.
Yeah.
So I'd rather spread huge, take the heat, and play a shoe than Wong. And that's just me.
Okay.
I'm not saying, I don't know that's necessarily a good thing. But I know that's what I can do.
Yeah.
So.
And really, if you're dealing with reality, with the numbers, there isn't a right or wrong answer. There's pros and cons to either. I've got videos about that. We can discuss it at boot camp at length if people want to, or whatever. What about backoffs? You said you've had some heat. Do you have any memorable backoffs?
Well, my memorable one was losing the shop I love the most, and that just happened, and I cried.
Yeah.
So it was just a surprising place for me. It became a sweet spot for me. I got 110 hours at a $340 an hour game.
Yeah.
And I spotted another AP at that shop who kind of pulled me aside and said, they're letting you play because they like you, but your days are numbered.
Wow.
And that was nice for him
to
tell me, but that was sad to lose that one.
Yep.
And then I had one rude one downtown. I've only been trespassed twice. One was, and they were both fine, but I had a pit boss come up behind me. I'd put a purple chip on a table downtown casino in Vegas, and I saw this arm reach around my left shoulder and swatted. It just took me by surprise because I didn't see him coming.
Yeah.
He reached over my shoulder, swatted my chip away from the dealer, and
Whoa.
slammed his hand down on the table and said, "We're not taking any more action from you." And I mean, he got it out before I even could turn to look at him. And by the time I did, he was walking away, and I'm thinking, coward. And I said, "What?" And he goes, "No, we're not." And he's walking down the pit, and I was just left standing there looking at the dealer, and she shrugs and puts her hands up. I don't know. So I just picked my chip up, and that didn't feel good.
Yeah, that doesn't sound fun, but that's not. There are rougher.
Yeah, I'm sure.
rougher backoffs, and losing one of those games that you've played for so many hours. There's I've got those places in my mind of like, oh,
darn,
it sucks losing this place.
Yeah,
but it's all a part of the job.
It is. There's 23 of them total, but I really don't think that's that bad.
23 backoffs. Okay, well, I mean that sounds.
I got plenty more.
Yeah, and we were talking before we were recording. There's states that you haven't been to that you're looking forward to. Hopefully, 2019.
Yes.
And another thing we have to talk about is you even said it, that you're the master of the comp. I
am.
What are some of your favorite negotiating techniques that you use?
I mean, I just ask, so, and I'll usually say, I just, dumped. If I'm playing unrated, I'll still ask even unrated. This may have gotten me. This may have had negative consequences. I'm not even sure to this day. But one time I was playing unrated and I gave them a fake name. I gave them my maiden name. And I did not present an ID. When usually you have to show your ID if you have a comp because they want to know that that's you. And I got away without even showing my ID for that. I just said it was in my room, and I got lunch.
Oh, wow!
I got lunch on a fake name without showing ID. But that was only once.
Yeah,
and I think
we used to be able to pull that off a lot back in the day.
Yeah, it's hard now.
It's way harder now. Yeah,
and I think it may have created either a fly or an OSN situation, so I wouldn't do it again. So I'm not advising it, but it was kind of fun to get away with it. Well, if I got away with it. But I just ask. I was at a casino I'd been backed off from in the past, and I wanted a room, and I just asked for it.
Yeah.
And so, and I got it.
Do you have a favorite comp?
I love airfare reimbursements.
Oh, yeah?
Those are
You've
nice.
gotten those?
I have.
Wow. So that's good to hear. I've gotten that before, and I always bring it up at boot camps, but I didn't know if people are still pulling it off because, it seems like there's more casinos than ever, but they seem to get stingier or greedier, I'd like to say.
I think probably my comp, if I take the some of the AP plays I've out of that, just comps like food and hotel and airfare and all that, they're close to $20,000 last year.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Love it. So any other tips to give people? Just ask.
Yeah, I mean, you have to play rated some.
Yeah.
I mean, if you're really committed to playing unrated, it does get a little harder to ask for them, but you can. And I've worked with someone who's played unrated and then asked to back up their rating when they leave, and so they'll get a card then and get off, but it's not checked while they're playing, so they're not playing anymore.
Yeah.
I guess that's how I've never done that, so you'll have to correct me if that's not how it works. But
No.
they've gotten all kinds of offers from stuff like that.
Okay. So do you speak multiple languages?
A little bit of 3 languages.
Okay.
It's been a long time.
Okay. So you're not using that to your advantage?
No, I don't think so. I speak a little French and a little Spanish.
Okay. Okay. Because that was one of Gus 45's questions. I think we've had other bilingual APs that can use it to their advantage. So when you're going out on a trip, do you have a goal of EV or a goal of hours or a goal of I don't know?
Both. So I'll set an EV and an hour goal.
Okay.
And if I start getting short on hours, then I'll specifically scout for a game that I can boost my EV.
Okay.
So,
and what about, do you have like stop losses, wins?
Never.
Okay. I just have to ask for newer people. They're like, well, if I were up, above EV, I would just stop for the trip.
No. The only time I'm tempted to do that if I think that it'll get me another day.
Okay. Yes.
So
if you feel like, hey, if I'm up so much, if I keep playing, I risk a back off. But if I stop now, I'm flying under the radar enough, I can get another day's worth of play in.
Yeah, so I've done that, especially if which I always am. I've got a flight leaving I'm stuck if I can't play. Mm-hmm. So if I'm in a situation like that, and that's happened a couple times, but not real often. Yeah, I'll only do that if I think it buys me more time.
Okay.
And it's really hard to know.
You never know. We could look back in hindsight and say, oh, it did. What about, do you try to see tourist destinations on trips, or is it all work?
I want to more than I do, but I do get pretty tunnel vision when I'm working. You
know what? I think sometimes you have to. Mm-hmm. I think it can be really difficult to split unless you're, there are some of those people that they can just go out on the road indefinitely. And,
I've talked about, I would like to do a year.
Yeah.
Out on the road.
Wow.
Crush it and just never look back. So, because but I don't know that will ever happen.
Yeah.
And I was like, maybe 6 months, but maybe I might do that.
Yeah.
It'll be another story.
Okay. Well, if you do, we'll have to recap that after it happens. So let's talk about a little bit of stuff that's beyond kind of at the tables. What do you think are the, pros or cons of being a female card counter versus what a male card counter has to face? Well,
it's interesting, and I can't answer it because I don't know what it's like to be a male card counter.
Okay, well.
But I think about it a lot, and I wonder. I think I may get a little bit more deference, and I don't know if it's because I'm female or because I'm a little older than most. The profiles of most card counters are usually in their 30s, I think. I don't know. I just don't know that. So I think I get a little more time on the front end sometimes because it makes sense that I'd have more money or something like that than a young kid. But people remember me. Yeah. I think they remember most females. So it's a little harder to go back once I've been spotted. So that's really interesting. We had a few females on the church team, and one of them, she looked like a model, and we found out from surveillance, like, oh yeah, well, all of surveillance was watching her play. Yeah. Whenever she came in, it's like if they could watch some like random dudes playing or her, they would watch her play, and that drew attention to her. It's like not her fault, but I wish I knew what went on up there. I mean, it'd be an awesome advantage to know that, but I just don't. So, but as a female too, I try not to think too much about my physical vulnerability because I'm short, 5'2", nothing, and people have asked me, well, how do you feel about carrying cash? And I can't think about it. I just do it. But But that's one of the advantages to having somebody else that I'm traveling with now. I feel a little safer.
Yeah, no, that's really important. I mean, as a 6'2" dude, there's no shortage of times I've asked for security escort to my car.
I've done it twice.
Yeah, I've done it. I don't know how many times, because especially when it's 2, 3 in the morning and having to walk one of those giant parking lots, and people saw me in there. Sometimes there's a little bit of a crowd watching. The in my situation, the young kid like throwing out purple chips or whatever. I'd rather be safe than sorry, and everybody, I feel like, use that. Be safe.
Yeah, and I don't know. You asked the difference between as a female and a male, but sometimes you do get a little unwanted attention at the tables, and you just have to deflect. Learn how to deflect that.
Yeah,
so it's annoying.
Yeah, I think I'm sure it's different for females, but I think any AP has to learn how to deflect the peanut gallery at the table, whether it's the players, the dealer. It's just like people are like, "What do you do?" And I'm like, "I just ignore them. I play dumb and I ignore them." Yep. If they told me I made the wrong decision, I'm like, "Oh, whoops," and keep playing, and then do the same decision next time. So, a year into full time, and I don't know, a year and a half into card counting, what do you feel like this has taught you?
That's a separate podcast.
Okay, well, maybe one thing.
One thing. Blackjack has reinforced for me that if you make the right choices and you take responsibility for those choices, and don't blame the outcomes for those choices on exterior forces, that you get to reap rewards, and you get to decide how much you want to risk and what reward you're after. Yeah. And then you make the choices that will either move you towards that or keep you from it.
Oh, I love
and
it.
that the outside forces cannot defeat you if you decide they will not. And so you're in charge of your own destiny. That's what it's taught me.
Yeah. Oh, man, I love it. Because I get no shortage of emails or whatever that are saying they've been losing, but it's not their fault. It's the other players, or it's the casino, or is the casino cheating them or whatever. And that's just like, that's kind of humanity at large, is like blaming everyone else. And I love the saying, control what you can control.
Well, right. And that's something else that I wanted to talk about. And what I was going to say second that Blackjack has taught me is that there are all kinds of outside forces involved in this endeavor that you can't control. Yeah. But you can control the important ones.
Yes.
And you can control how you respond to those outside forces. And they can't change you unless you let them.
Yes.
So the important things, they have no power over.
Yeah.
You have the power to decide what you want to go for it.
That's good. I feel like, we're getting a little deep here, but no, not in a bad way. I'm just saying, I feel like it's worth it for all of us to say, what are those things that kind of, maybe make our trigger or whatever, so that you don't want to take responsibility, or you can't ignore it, you can't focus and work through those things. There's a guy that I think a few people know this. There's a guy that was like massively harassing me online. I don't really even like giving him the attention about it. But while that was going on, it's probably still going on. I just ignore it. But there was someone else, someone that I follow kind of on social media that said he had a similar thing of someone like really trolling him and like really putting him down in all these awful ways. And that, I think for most people that's kind of a trigger when someone is like just really like defaming you or saying false things about you, and you want to kind of defend yourself. But this person that I was following, he put out a video saying this had happened to him, and he kind of like stopped doing stuff publicly for a couple weeks because he felt so defeated by this one troll online. And then someone gave him a kick in the ass and said, hey, knock it off, get back out. He said, every second you give this other person is a second that's taking away from the people that you can help. Yeah. It was helpful for me, because this guy was like, I'm not going to go out there and like post stuff defaming him or whatever, but it was a distraction. And then I realized, you know what? I cannot control him. What I can control is helping the people I can help, serving the people I can serve, benefiting the people I can benefit, working on my own business, not worrying about that stuff. And those are all things that we have to face in a casino constantly.
And that they're not going to defeat me.
Yes.
So, it feels like it sometimes, and it's okay, it's not fun.
Yes.
But anything that's worth anything is never easy. It's always hard, and that's what makes you strong.
Yes. And really the difference between someone that can understand, that can master the skill of card carrying and someone that can make it as an advanced player is someone that can pick themselves back up, or, you get crushed. And we will all have our worst loss ever at some point. And you're not just going to have one bad loss. 45% of sessions are going to be losing ones. But can you pick yourself back up?
I think that's another thing blackjack taught me is it doesn't get easier. The swings aren't going to stop.
Yeah.
They're never going to stop. And, the only thing is I decide when to play, how much to play, and when to stop playing.
Yeah.
And I get to make that choice.
Yeah.
And I'm not going to do it because they defeated me. I'm going to do it because I met my goals and I'm finished with it.
Yes. So. I think there are some things that can make it easier over time, like when you have been through it. And
I guess I didn't mean not easier, but they're not going to be less. Yes. They're always going to be there. So.
Yep. Yeah.
But yes, I understand it. Go ahead. I interrupted you.
Well, I think something I've been thinking about recently is when I think a fellow AP and a female AP, she used the phrase lack mentality. That if you're constantly, she worked in a casino and all the dealers, they had this lack mentality where they're focused on am I getting enough tips? Am I, or whatever, I think that if you have enough success in advanced play, I think early on there's this am I going to do this? And a lot of fear around generating EV. And I think some of the people that have played long enough, they kind of get over that and they know it does work. It's going to be fine. And there's a little bit less trepidation. But it never gets easy.
Yeah. I think I did have a moment. I can't pinpoint it. I don't know when it was, but I had an aha epiphany moment at the table. And I've said this to other people before, and I hesitate to say it because it doesn't sound like it makes sense, but I understood the game.
Yeah.
And I understood why it worked. I understood that's what EV really is, and this is how you get to it, and I just understood it.
Yeah.
And that, I don't think I could sit down and put that on paper for anybody. It was just something that kind of dropped into me. I was like, I get it.
Yeah.
It became clear to me. And so I just felt like I could keep doing. I'm a very simple blackjack player. What I love about it is I do the same thing over and over and over again, and nobody's going to keep me doing that, and that's where my success is going to come from. I love the simplicity of it.
Yes.
But it's hard.
Yes.
But I love that too because it makes me feel strong. It makes me feel confident. It makes me feel like nobody can stop me.
Yeah.
So those things together, because I consider myself kind of simple-minded.
Yeah.
I like +1, -1.
Yep.
I like if you do these deviations, and I like calculating EV. It just all makes sense to me.
Yeah.
When some of the more successful the folks that do advanced AP stuff, it's shuffle tracking and card holding, and I'm like, I do not understand that stuff.
Yeah.
And that's okay with me. I like the simplicity of counting cards.
Yep, absolutely. I liked thinking that all I need is my ID and my bankroll, and then the skills in my head, and that's it. And after a losing night, saying, "Oh, I did everything right," because I've done some poker and other businesses and whatnot, and there is a beauty to, you walk away from the poker table a loser, and it's like I probably made some mistakes. I probably stayed in hands I shouldn't have, or tried to bluff when I shouldn't have, or left a hand when I should have stayed in. And with business, there's infinite variables in a lot of businesses. I love that I know what to do at the blackjack table.
I love that too.
And I want to do it excellently.
Over and over and
over. Exactly. And and there's enough difference, different casinos, and you don't know there's enough that it's not so mundane. It's not just in a factory,
Right. Well, it does appeal. I don't know if I said this on the podcast, but I had some acting experience in college, and I'm a little bit of a drama queen and very melodramatic. And so it speaks to that. So I get to indulge that in a, in a place where it's not going to impact the real people in my life. So I can be as melodramatic as I want to there and play roles and, do all that, and it feeds that in me. And I was like, okay, so I never made it as an actress, but I'm going to make it as an AP. So that's kind of a drive too.
Awesome. So a year from your corporate job, how are you feeling about that? You miss it?
I don't, not for 1 second.
Okay.
I have no regrets at all. I have an hour and an EV goal for my blackjack career. And I have moments where I'm like, I hope I can complete those hours, when I'm tired. But that's what I'm focused on.
Yeah.
And I've become a little bit less rigid too, because I wanted to do 2,000 hours in 3 years. I don't have to do 2,000 hours in 3 years. So I'm giving myself a little bit more of a break with that. And we'll see how it goes.
Yeah.
So
awesome. So from your background in counseling and mental health, how has Advantage Play Life, how's it affected how you see, the addiction, problem gamblers, and
I'll tell you what, that's been one of the most difficult things for me. And I had to come to a place in the casino that this is not my therapy office. These people have not come to me. I haven't earned their trust. I haven't earned the right to speak into their life, and I can't fix them. And I've gone into restrooms and casinos and heard people women install sobbing, and I have to fight the impulse to knock on the door. Do you need to talk to someone? I can't do that. That's hard, but I call it my sphere of influence. I have a sphere of influence. These are the people that I deserve to speak into their lives, that I'm responsible for.
Yeah.
Those are the people I speak those things to. The others, I just can't because it keeps me from my goals. But that's it. I have a little cognitive dissonance about that stuff. It's hard for me.
Yeah.
I had a man approach me in a hallway once. He pulled me aside and told me his story. I had been backed off, and I was on my way out, and so I sat down with him. He told me he had lost $85,000 in a year, and I said, "Please stop playing." And he said, "You know how to play. You're making money. You know what to do. Tell me what to do." I said, "Look, every resource I have or had is at your fingertips too."
Yeah.
But I said, and I told him where to look.
Yep.
I said, "But I can't help you."
Yeah. No, I think that, I remember we would have discussions about this. People I played on early teams with, you see someone and you could tell they have a problem, and it's like, well, what do you do? And, there's kind of this mental exercise of, if someone walked up to you on the street and they needed money for food, it's like, well, yeah, I could give them money for food. I can afford that. But there is a point at which you can't feed every person that's hungry in the world, nor are you called to. But where do you draw that line? There isn't a clear answer, but I think I feel that tension. I remember someone at a table once saying like, "I'm so glad I won that bet. That was my truck payment money," and I said, "Oh man, well you shouldn't be in here, But can I help every person? I can't, nor am I called to it, and
they can't hear you say that either. It's just words and noise to them. Even the friend that introduced me to casinos, I bumped into him in a casino recently, and he said, "Are you going to work?" I said, "Yeah, I'm going to work." He said, "I'm leaving in a minute." And so I've set some clear boundaries with him, but I can't help him change.
Yeah. Yeah.
He's never asked me to teach him how to count cards. He doesn't want to. He says blackjack's boring.
And there's a big difference with counseling. They're coming to you, and I used to offer all sorts of unsolicited advice to people, and I don't anymore. Actually, it was a counselor that I said, "Hey, what's your opinion on advice?"
Right.
And he laughed and he said, "Oh, I used to offer lots of it, but very, very little anymore." I am happy to talk to people if they come to me and ask, but even if they ask, I try to ask more questions than, just give advice because, it's usually not the most helpful thing to just, but especially when they're not asking you, it's tough, but when you realize that everyone's we should probably not go too far into this stuff, but everyone's trying to deal with pain. Everyone's trying to cope with anxiety and chaos and all those things, and not to be numb to it, but to know when and where to help.
Yeah, and asking questions is, a great therapeutic strategy. You're helping them answer their own questions.
Yeah.
And that's really the goal, is to help somebody come to their own truth or what they have, their own decision, their own motivation to change.
Yeah.
And so asking questions is really what I do, but I don't do it in casinos.
Yeah.
So.
And there are probably some people listening that are like, what the hell? I thought I was going to hear about blackjack. And I say,
Sorry.
No, forget you. This is my podcast, and I'm going to ask the questions I want to ask. And you could skip ahead or go to the next one or whatever. The next one, though, with you is going to be a lot less about blackjack. But I think it's actually really, really important, something that can really help people. But before we wrap this one up, I just have one or two more questions, which is, what does your family think about
So interesting. My dad, my mother passed away a couple years ago, but my dad is awesome. He's a brilliant man. Mm-hmm. And the first time I saw him after kind of word had gotten out through the family that she's gambling for a living. So I saw him at Thanksgiving, and the first thing he said to me when I came in the door, I can't believe my daughter is in bed with the mob. And I'm like, what, Daddy?
Oh, funny.
And so I had to sit him down, and I had to speak his language. I said, Dad, this is my David and Goliath moment. I said, I'm not a friend to the casino.
Yeah.
Otherwise, why would they be asking me to leave? And I said, and Dad, you're a mathematician.
Yeah.
So I laid the math out for him.
Yep.
And he could never tolerate a casino environment, but my dad would be an awesome AP if he could. And so now he's very supportive, and he just says, please stay safe.
Yeah.
That's all he says to me. I have a brother that's interested in APing at some point, and on different levels. I used to think about team. Oh, I almost said my last name. That would be a bad idea. Team insert last name, because I have 3 grown sons. Yeah. And they're all interested in APing on different levels.
Yeah.
But so my boys are really cool.
Yeah.
And my partner, he will be an AP one day.
Okay.
That's just timing. So.
Well, that helps when if your kids aren't like, what is wrong with you, Mom?
Nope, they love it.
Awesome.
So I have 3 adult sons.
But and the one that works surveillance, he doesn't work surveillance.
He doesn't
anymore?
work surveillance anymore. He.
Otherwise, I'd be asking if we could get a little insight.
I know, I did, and I said, I did ask him. I said, do you think you could go back in there? And it was like, probably not. It's been over a year. So. And
just to wrap it up, any advice to new APs, especially people that are thinking about transitioning from different careers?
To be really clear about what your goals are.
Yeah.
And if what you want to do financially is possible, with how much risk you're willing to tolerate, what your bankroll will support, how much time you're willing to spend investing. I had somebody reach out to me once who wanted to make $72,000 a year, starting with a $3,000 bankroll, and work 30 hours a month. And so I just kind of laid those numbers out and said, this is what you're going to have to do. And it's going to take some time to build.
You're going to have to play like 10,000.
It'll take a while. And so I would say, for someone wanting to transition, just, be realistic about those goals financially and time-wise. And we'll talk about the other ones next.
Yeah.
So.
Well, I really think it comes down to what are your alternatives,
right?
If I think why a lot of kind of younger, no kids people can do this is because they don't have a lot at stake. They're not responsible for other, and the most common thing, Colin, do you not play because you can't play anymore? I'm like, no, I'm known, but man, even late in my career with the church team, I mean, playing games that were, $200 to $600 an hour. I was playing high limit rooms in Vegas as Colin Jones, manager of the church team. Yeah, it came with back offs and all that stuff. But no, it had to do with what I had at stake with a whole bunch of young kids at home and me being gone and all those things. So if you're in a situation, there are people that say, "Oh, well, I hate my corporate job. I'm just going to quit." Well, you have to know, well, what's at stake? You
Right.
know, what's at stake if it doesn't work out? Can you take that risk? And you already explained before the low cost of living, kids out of the house, you know, and you knew well what you could generate, what you needed to generate, and it was you were willing to take that risk. Like you said, break down. Deal with the reality of what's possible, and it's not an easy career. Any
not.
pro would say it's hard, or how some people put it, it's a hard way to make easy money. You know, like you can make pretty stinking good money as a card counter, but it's not easy. Clocking in, clocking out somewhere where they're just going to hand you a paycheck in a lot of ways is easier, even if it's going to suck your soul. But if you take that plunge, you know what you're getting into, and it's really cool that a year into it. It's worked out well, and for however long this is, if this is for till you retire, or whether it's just for a great story for a few years, I'm excited to hear how things go.
Oh, there are fun stories coming down the pike, including one being stranded on the side of the road for 3 hours last week. But that's
that doesn't sound fun.
It wasn't. Our rental car just quit.
Yeah.
So, yeah, stuff like that happens.
It totally does. But thanks so much for sitting down. We're going to wrap it up because we're going to have some lunch and hang out with some other card counters. But thanks for sharing your story. And, can people hit you up through the forum if they want?
Absolutely. Love
Awesome.
that.
So you can hit up SassyRed through the forum. And till next time, keep generating EV.
Thanks, Colin.
Thank you.